This video contains audio content only. There are no visual elements or images accompanying the audio. If you're expecting to see video footage, please note that this is an intentional audio-only presentation. We recommend listening to this content rather than watching the screen. Thank you for your understanding and enjoy the audio. Hello and welcome, science enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of penguin evolution. Our feathered friends in tuxedos have captivated our hearts with their waddling walks and incredible swimming abilities, but there's so much more to these amazing birds than meets the eye. In this video, we'll explore the latest scientific research on penguin evolution, covering everything from their ancient origins to their modern-day challenges. We'll uncover how these birds transitioned from the skies to the seas, examine their unique adaptations, and even look at how they're related to other birds. Plus, we'll discuss how penguins are facing the challenges of our changing climate. Whether you're a biology buff, a climate scientist, or simply someone who loves these charismatic creatures, this video will provide you with a comprehensive overview of the cutting-edge research in penguin evolution. So, let's embark on this scientific journey through time and discover the incredible story of penguins. 1. The origins and early evolution of penguins. Let's start our journey by turning back the clock to the origins of penguins. Imagine a world over 60 million years ago, shortly after the extinction of the dinosaurs. It's in this ancient landscape that the penguin story begins. Recent research suggests that the ancestors of modern penguins first appeared during the Paleocene epoch, between 66 and 56 million years ago. These early penguins were quite different from the ones we know today. They could still fly, much like their seabird relatives. However, over millions of years, they gradually adapted to a more aquatic lifestyle. The transition from air to water was a gradual process driven by environmental pressures and opportunities. As the Earth's climate changed and new ecological niches opened up in the southern oceans, these proto-penguins began to spend more time in the water, diving for food. This shift in behavior led to a series of evolutionary adaptations that would eventually transform them into the expert swimmers we know today. One of the most significant changes was the modification of their wings. Over time, penguin wings became shorter, stiffer, and more fin-like, optimized for flying underwater rather than in the air. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It took millions of years of gradual changes, with each small modification providing a slight advantage in their aquatic environment. As penguins became more adapted to life in the water, they also began to change in other ways. Their bodies became more streamlined, their feathers became denser and more water-resistant, and their bones became denser to reduce buoyancy. These changes allowed them to dive deeper and stay underwater for longer periods, giving them access to a rich new food source of fish and squid. The fossil record has provided us with fascinating glimpses into this evolutionary journey. For instance, fossils of early penguin species like Waimanu, dating back to about 61 to 62 million years ago, show us an intermediate form between flying birds and modern penguins. These ancient penguins were already flightless but still retained some features of their flying ancestors. Interestingly, the evolution of penguins wasn't a simple, linear process. The fossil record reveals a diverse array of penguin species throughout the Cenozoic era, including some truly giant penguins. Some of these ancient species stood as tall as humans, dwarfing their modern counterparts. This diversity suggests that penguins underwent several radiations, exploring different body sizes and ecological niches as they adapted to changing environmental conditions. The story of penguin origins and early evolution is a testament to the power of natural selection and the incredible adaptability of life. From humble flying beginnings, these birds gradually transformed into the swimming and diving experts we know today, all in response to the opportunities and challenges presented by their environment. 2. Penguin relationships with other birds and convergent evolution. Now that we've explored the origins of penguins, let's zoom out a bit and look at how penguins fit into the broader avian family tree. This will help us understand not only the evolutionary history of penguins but also how similar adaptations can arise in unrelated groups of animals, a phenomenon known as convergent evolution. Penguins belong to a group of seabirds known as the spheniciforms. Genetic and fossil evidence suggests that their closest living relatives are the order Procellariiformes, which includes albatrosses, petrels, and shearwaters. This relationship might seem surprising at first glance. After all, these relatives of penguins can fly, while penguins are famously flightless. However, they share a common ancestor that lived around 60 million years ago. What's particularly interesting is that despite their close relationship, penguins and their flying relatives have evolved very different lifestyles and adaptations. While albatrosses and petrels became masters of long-distance flight, spending much of their lives soaring over the open ocean, penguins took a different path, becoming expert swimmers and divers. This divergence in lifestyle is a beautiful example of how evolution can take closely related groups and shape them in dramatically different ways in response to different environmental pressures. The flying seabirds adapted to life on the wing, developing long, narrow wings for efficient gliding, while penguins transformed their wings into flippers for underwater propulsion. But the story doesn't end there. Penguins aren't the only birds that have evolved to become flightless aquatic predators. This is where the concept of convergent evolution comes into play. Convergent evolution occurs when unrelated or distantly related organisms develop similar traits in response to similar environmental pressures. A fascinating example of convergent evolution with penguins is the extinct great auk of the northern hemisphere. Great auks, which belonged to the family Alcidae, which includes puffins and murres, were not closely related to penguins at all. Yet, they evolved a strikingly similar appearance and lifestyle. Like penguins, great auks were flightless, had flipper-like wings, and were expert swimmers and divers. They even had the same black and white coloration as many penguin species. The similarities between great auks and penguins are so strong that early explorers often confused the two, even though they lived on opposite sides of the world. This remarkable convergence demonstrates how similar environmental pressures can shape distantly related organisms in similar ways. Another example of convergent evolution can be seen in the wing structure of penguins and flying fish. Both have developed flat, rigid appendages that allow for efficient movement through a fluid medium, water for penguins, and both water and air for flying fish. While the underlying structures are different, modified wings in penguins, modified fins in flying fish, the end result serves a similar function. These examples of convergent evolution highlight an important principle in evolutionary biology: that form often follows function. When organisms face similar environmental challenges, evolution often finds similar solutions, even in very different groups of animals. Understanding these relationships and patterns of convergent evolution not only helps us appreciate the diversity of life on Earth but also provides insights into the processes that drive evolution. It shows us that while the path of evolution is unpredictable, there are certain adaptations that are so advantageous in specific environments that they may evolve independently multiple times. 3. Anatomical adaptations for aquatic life. Let's dive deeper into the remarkable anatomical adaptations that have allowed penguins to become such successful aquatic birds. These adaptations are the result of millions of years of evolution, finely tuning the penguin body for life in and around water. First, let's consider the penguin's body shape. Penguins have a streamlined, torpedo-shaped body that allows them to slice through water with minimal resistance. This hydrodynamic form is crucial for their ability to swim efficiently and chase fast-moving prey. The streamlined shape is further enhanced by their smooth, tightly packed feathers, which create a seamless surface in the water. Speaking of feathers, penguin feathers are quite different from those of flying birds. They're short, stiff, and densely packed, creating an almost scale-like appearance. This dense covering serves multiple purposes. It provides excellent insulation, trapping a layer of warm air next to the skin to help penguins maintain their body temperature in cold water. The feathers are also waterproof, thanks to a special oil produced by a gland near the tail that the penguins spread over their feathers while preening. Perhaps the most striking adaptation is the transformation of wings into flippers. Penguin wings are short, stiff, and flat, perfect for flying through water but useless for aerial flight. The bones in these flipper wings are flattened and fused, creating a strong, rigid paddle. The muscle structure of the flipper is also highly specialized, allowing for powerful strokes through the water. Penguins' legs and feet have also adapted to their aquatic lifestyle. Their legs are set far back on their bodies, which gives them their characteristic upright stance on land. While this makes walking somewhat awkward, it's ideal for swimming. When in the water, penguins can tuck their feet in against their body to maintain their streamlined shape, or use them as rudders for steering. The webbed feet are also excellent paddles, providing additional propulsion when needed. The penguin skeleton has undergone several adaptations for aquatic life. Unlike flying birds, which have hollow bones to reduce weight, penguins have solid, dense bones. This increased bone density helps counteract the buoyancy of their body fat and air-filled lungs, allowing them to dive more easily. Some penguin species can dive to depths of over 500 meters. Penguin skulls and beaks are also specialized for their diet and feeding habits. Most species have long, slender beaks ideal for catching fish and squid. The beak is often hooked at the tip, which helps in grasping slippery prey. Inside the mouth, penguins have backward-facing barbs on their tongues and palates. These barbs help to grip prey and guide it down the throat. The eyes of penguins have also adapted to their dual life in air and water. They have flattened corneas that help them see clearly both above and below the water's surface. Their eyes are also adapted to see well in the dim light of deep waters, with a high number of rod cells for enhanced light sensitivity. One fascinating adaptation is the countercurrent heat exchange system in penguins' extremities. This system allows them to maintain a high core body temperature while minimizing heat loss through their flippers and feet. In this system, warm blood flowing out to the extremities passes close to cold blood returning to the body core. This allows heat to be transferred from the outgoing to the incoming blood, conserving body heat. Lastly, let's not forget about the penguin's iconic black and white coloration. This isn't just for looks, it's a form of camouflage known as countershading. When viewed from above, their dark backs blend in with the dark depths of the ocean. From below, their white bellies blend with the bright surface of the water. This makes them less visible to both predators and prey. All these adaptations work together to make penguins supremely well suited to their marine environment. From their streamlined bodies to their dense bones, from their flipper wings to their countercurrent heat exchange system, every aspect of penguin anatomy reflects millions of years of evolutionary refinement for life in the water. 4. Penguin diversity, past and present. When we think of penguins, we often picture the classic black and white birds waddling across Antarctic ice. But the reality of penguin diversity, both past and present, is far more varied and fascinating. Let's explore the rich tapestry of penguin species through time and across the globe. Today, there are 18 recognized species of penguins alive in the world. These range from the tiny blue penguin, standing at just about 16 inches tall, to the impressive emperor penguin, which can reach heights of up to 4 feet. But this modern diversity is just a fraction of what existed in the past. The fossil record reveals a stunning array of ancient penguin species, many of which were quite different from their modern counterparts. One of the most striking differences is in size. While the largest living penguin, the emperor penguin, stands about 1.2 meters tall, some ancient penguins were true giants. For instance, fossils discovered in Antarctica and New Zealand have revealed species like Anthropornis nordenskjodi and Pachydyptes ponderosus, which stood around 1.8 meters tall, about the height of an average human. These giant penguins lived during the Eocene epoch, between 56 and 33.9 million years ago. Another fossil species, Kumimanu biceae, is estimated to have weighed up to 100 kilograms, more than twice the weight of an emperor penguin. But size isn't the only way ancient penguins differed from modern species. Fossil evidence suggests that some ancient penguins had different coloration patterns. While modern penguins are predominantly black and white, fossilized feathers from an extinct species suggest that some ancient penguins may have been reddish-brown and gray. The diversity of ancient penguins also extended to their beaks. Some fossil species had remarkably long, spear-like beaks, quite different from the shorter, more robust beaks of most modern penguins. These different beak shapes likely reflect different feeding strategies and prey preferences among ancient penguin species. Turning to modern penguins, while there may be fewer species than in the past, they still show remarkable diversity in their adaptations and lifestyles. Contrary to popular belief, not all penguins live in icy Antarctic environments. In fact, penguins can be found in a wide range of habitats across the southern hemisphere. The Galapagos penguin, for instance, lives right on the equator and is the only penguin species that occasionally ventures into the northern hemisphere. At the other extreme, the emperor and Adelie penguins are true Antarctic specialists, breeding on the ice in some of the coldest conditions on Earth. Between these extremes, we find penguins adapted to a variety of climates and habitats. The African penguin lives on the rocky coasts of southern Africa, while the yellow-eyed penguin of New Zealand nests in coastal forests. Some species, like the rockhopper penguins, have distinctive crests of yellow feathers on their heads, adding to the visual diversity of the penguin family. Penguins also show diversity in their breeding habits. While some species, like the emperor penguin, famously breed during the harsh Antarctic winter, others breed in the summer. Some species, like the little blue penguin, nest in burrows, while others nest on open ground or among rocks. Diving abilities also vary widely among penguin species. The emperor penguin is the true champion, capable of diving to depths of over 500 meters and staying underwater for up to 20 minutes. In contrast, the Galapagos penguin typically dives to depths of less than 30 meters. This diversity, both past and present, tells us a lot about the evolutionary history of penguins. It shows that penguins have been a highly successful and adaptable group, capable of evolving to exploit a wide range of marine environments. The fact that we see less diversity today than in the fossil record also raises interesting questions about the factors that have shaped penguin evolution over time, including changes in climate, ocean conditions, and competition with other marine predators. Understanding this diversity is crucial not just for appreciating the complexity of penguin evolution, but also for conservation efforts. Each penguin species represents a unique evolutionary lineage, adapted to specific environmental conditions. As we face global challenges like climate change, preserving this diversity will be key to ensuring the long-term survival of these remarkable birds. 5. Biogeography and dispersal patterns of penguins. The story of penguin evolution is not just about how these birds changed over time, but also about where they lived and how they spread across the southern hemisphere. The field of biogeography helps us understand these patterns of distribution and the factors that influenced them. Penguin biogeography is a fascinating subject because it involves both marine and terrestrial environments. While penguins spend much of their lives at sea, they need to come ashore to breed and molt. This dual lifestyle has shaped their distribution patterns in unique ways. Let's start at the beginning. The earliest penguin fossils have been found in New Zealand, dating back to about 62 million years ago. This suggests that the ancestors of modern penguins may have originated in the region that was once part of the ancient supercontinent Gondwana. As Gondwana broke apart, the evolution and dispersal of penguins were influenced by the changing geography of the southern hemisphere. From their likely origin point around New Zealand, penguins spread to other parts of the southern hemisphere. Fossil evidence shows that by the Eocene epoch, about 40 million years ago, penguins had reached Antarctica, South America, and even as far as Africa. One of the key factors in penguin dispersal has been ocean currents. Penguins are excellent swimmers, but they don't typically undertake long-distance migrations like some flying birds. Instead, their spread across the oceans has largely been facilitated by currents. The Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which flows eastward around Antarctica, has been particularly important in this regard. This current likely helped penguins colonize different regions around the Southern Ocean. Another important factor in penguin biogeography has been the formation and movement of islands. As the continents shifted and sea levels changed over millions of years, new islands emerged and others disappeared. These islands served as stepping stones for penguin dispersal and as refuges where new species could evolve. The Galapagos penguin provides an interesting case study in penguin dispersal. It's the only penguin species that lives north of the equator, and its presence on the Galapagos Islands raises intriguing questions about how it got there. The most likely explanation is that ancestors of this species rode the cold Humboldt Current northward from the coasts of Chile or Peru, eventually colonizing the Galapagos. Climate change has also played a significant role in penguin biogeography. During periods of global cooling, such as ice ages, the range of cold-adapted penguin species expanded. Conversely, during warmer periods, these species were forced to retreat to higher latitudes. This push and pull of climate has led to a complex pattern of penguin distribution over time. Today, we see the results of this long history of dispersal and adaptation in the distribution of modern penguin species. The greatest diversity of penguin species is found in the sub-Antarctic islands and the southern tips of the continents. New Zealand, for instance, is home to several penguin species, including the yellow-eyed penguin and the little blue penguin. The Antarctic Peninsula and nearby islands host several species, including gentoo, chinstrap, and Adelie penguins. Understanding the biogeography of penguins is not just of academic interest. It has important implications for conservation. As climate change alters ocean currents and temperatures, the distribution of penguin prey species is changing. This, in turn, is affecting where penguins can successfully feed and breed. By studying past patterns of penguin dispersal and adaptation, we can better predict how these birds might respond to future changes and develop more effective conservation strategies. 6. Physiological adaptations for diving and cold environments. Penguins aren't just adapted to life in the water in terms of their external anatomy. Their internal physiology has also undergone remarkable changes to allow them to dive deep and survive in cold environments. Let's explore some of these fascinating adaptations. First, let's consider how penguins manage to dive so deep and stay underwater for so long. One key adaptation is in their blood. Penguin blood contains more hemoglobin than that of other birds. Hemoglobin is the protein that carries oxygen in the blood, so having more of it allows penguins to store more oxygen for their dives. But it's not just about having more hemoglobin, the hemoglobin itself has evolved to be more efficient. Recent research has shown that penguin hemoglobin has a higher affinity for oxygen than that of their flying relatives. This means it's better at picking up oxygen in the lungs and holding onto it until it's needed in the tissues. Penguins also have the ability to lower their heart rate dramatically when they dive, a phenomenon known as bradycardia. This slows their metabolism and reduces oxygen consumption, allowing them to stay underwater longer. Some penguins can reduce their heart rate from over 100 beats per minute to as low as 20 beats per minute during a dive. Another fascinating diving adaptation is the ability of penguins to collapse their lungs and squeeze air out of their feathers when they dive. This makes them less buoyant and allows them to dive deeper with less effort. The air isn't wasted, it's pushed into air sacs throughout the body, which can then be used as an oxygen source during the dive. Now, let's turn to how penguins survive in cold environments. One of their most important adaptations is their insulation. Penguins have a thick layer of blubber under their skin that helps keep them warm. Their feathers are also highly specialized. They're short, stiff, and densely packed, trapping a layer of air next to the skin for insulation. But perhaps the most impressive cold weather adaptation of penguins is their unique circulatory system. Penguins have what's called a countercurrent heat exchange system in their extremities. In this system, arteries carrying warm blood from the body core are intertwined with veins carrying cold blood back from the extremities. This allows heat to be transferred from the outgoing blood to the incoming blood, helping to maintain core body temperature while minimizing heat loss through the flippers and feet. Some penguin species, like the emperor penguin, have taken cold adaptation to extreme levels. Emperor penguins can survive temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius, -76 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds up to 200 kilometers per hour, 124 miles per hour. They do this by huddling together in large groups, constantly rotating so that each penguin gets a turn in the warm center of the huddle. These physiological adaptations, combined with their unique behaviors, allow penguins to thrive in some of the harshest environments on Earth, from the icy waters of Antarctica to the cold, nutrient-rich upwelling zones along the coasts of South America and southern Africa. 7. Genetic insights into penguin evolution. The advent of genomic technologies has opened up new avenues for understanding penguin evolution at the molecular level. By sequencing and analyzing penguin genomes, scientists have been able to uncover new insights into their evolutionary history, adaptations, and relationships to other birds. One of the most significant findings from genetic studies is the confirmation of the close relationship between penguins and their flying relatives, the procellariforms, albatrosses, petrels, and shearwaters. This relationship, first suggested by morphological studies, has been strongly supported by genetic evidence. Genetic studies have also helped refine our understanding of when penguins first evolved. While the fossil record provides important data points, genetic evidence allows scientists to estimate divergence times between different lineages. Current estimates based on genetic data suggest that the penguin lineage split from their flying relatives around 60 million years ago, shortly after the extinction of the dinosaurs. Another area where genetic studies have provided valuable insights is in understanding how penguins adapted to their aquatic lifestyle. By comparing penguin genomes to those of other birds, researchers have identified genes that show signs of positive selection in penguins. These genes are often involved in traits that are important for diving, such as oxygen transport, lung function, and metabolism. For example, studies have found evidence of selection on genes related to hemoglobin function in penguins. This aligns with what we know about penguin physiology. Their hemoglobin has a higher affinity for oxygen than that of other birds, an adaptation that helps them during long dives. Genetic studies have also shed light on how penguins adapted to cold environments. Researchers have found evidence of selection on genes involved in lipid metabolism in Antarctic penguins. This makes sense given the importance of blubber for insulation in these cold-adapted species. Interestingly, genetic studies have revealed that despite their ability to survive in extreme cold, penguins actually have a lower rate of molecular evolution than many other birds. This slower rate of genetic change might be related to their lower metabolic rates, which are an adaptation to their marine lifestyle. Genomic data has also been valuable in understanding the population history of different penguin species. By looking at patterns of genetic diversity within species, researchers can infer past changes in population size. For many penguin species, these genetic studies have revealed a pattern of population decline during past periods of climate warming, followed by expansion during cooler periods. This information is crucial for predicting how penguin populations might respond to current and future climate change. Finally, genetic studies are playing an increasingly important role in penguin conservation. By assessing genetic diversity within populations, conservationists can identify populations that may be at risk due to inbreeding or low genetic diversity. Genetic data can also help in defining conservation units and in making decisions about translocations or captive breeding programs. 8. Climate change and its impact on penguin populations. As we conclude our exploration of penguin evolution, we must address one of the most pressing issues facing these remarkable birds today: climate change. The rapid changes in global climate that we're currently experiencing are having profound effects on penguin populations around the world. Penguins, having evolved over millions of years to be expertly adapted to their environments, are particularly vulnerable to rapid environmental changes. Different penguin species are being affected in different ways, depending on their specific adaptations and the particular changes occurring in their habitats. For many penguin species, one of the most significant impacts of climate change is on their food supply. Penguins typically feed on fish, squid, and krill, and the distribution and abundance of these prey species are heavily influenced by water temperature and ocean currents. As ocean temperatures rise and currents shift, the availability of food for penguins is changing. For example, Adelie penguins in the western Antarctic peninsula have been declining in number as sea ice has decreased in this region. These penguins rely on sea ice as a platform for resting and molting, and the krill they feed on also depend on sea ice. As the ice disappears, so does their habitat and food source. On the other hand, Gentoo penguins, which are more tolerant of ice-free conditions, have been expanding their range southward as the Antarctic peninsula warms. This illustrates how climate change can create winners and losers, even among closely related species. Emperor penguins, the icons of Antarctica, are particularly vulnerable to climate change. They breed on sea ice during the harsh Antarctic winter, and need stable ice that lasts from April to December to successfully raise their chicks. As Antarctic sea ice declines due to warming, emperor penguins are losing crucial breeding habitat. Some colonies have already been lost, and projections suggest that if current warming trends continue, the global emperor penguin population could decline by up to 80% by the end of this century. Climate change isn't just affecting Antarctic penguins. The Galapagos penguin, already one of the rarest penguin species, faces increased risk from more frequent and intense El Niño events, which are expected to become more common with climate change. During El Niño years, the warm waters around the Galapagos Islands contain fewer fish, leading to widespread breeding failure and mortality in these penguins. African penguins are also struggling with changes in their food supply. Warming waters and shifts in ocean currents have caused the fish they feed on to move eastward, away from their traditional feeding grounds. This has led to a significant decline in African penguin populations. Rising sea levels associated with climate change pose another threat to many penguin species. Penguins often nest on low-lying coastal areas or islands, which are at risk of being submerged as sea levels rise. This could lead to the loss of important breeding habitat for many species. However, it's not all doom and gloom. Penguins have shown remarkable resilience and adaptability over their long evolutionary history. Some species may be able to adapt to changing conditions by shifting their ranges or altering their breeding times. For example, some Adelie penguin colonies in East Antarctica have actually been growing as sea ice in that region has increased, in contrast to the decreases seen in West Antarctica. Moreover, the plight of penguins in the face of climate change has helped to raise awareness about the broader impacts of global warming on marine ecosystems. Penguins are often described as sentinel species. Their health and population trends can provide early warnings about changes in the broader marine environment. Conservation efforts are also making a difference. Protected areas, such as marine reserves, can help to safeguard important penguin habitats and feeding grounds. Efforts to reduce other human impacts, such as overfishing and oil spills, can help make penguin populations more resilient to the stresses of climate change. As we've seen throughout this exploration of penguin evolution, these birds have a long history of adapting to environmental changes. However, the pace of current climate change is unprecedented in their evolutionary history. The question now is whether they can adapt quickly enough to keep up with the rapid changes we're seeing in the 21st century. Understanding the evolutionary history of penguins, including their past responses to climate change, can provide valuable insights for conservation efforts. By studying how penguins adapted to past changes, we may be able to better predict and mitigate the impacts of current and future changes. In conclusion, the story of penguin evolution is a testament to the power of natural selection and the incredible adaptability of life. From their origins as flying seabirds to their current status as swimming and diving specialists, penguins have undergone remarkable transformations over millions of years. They've diversified into a wide range of species, each adapted to its own particular niche in the southern oceans. Today, as they face the challenge of rapid climate change, penguins once again find themselves at an evolutionary crossroads. The decisions we make now about how we address climate change will play a crucial role in shaping the future evolution of these extraordinary birds. As we've seen, penguin evolution isn't just a story of the past, it's an ongoing process that continues to unfold before our eyes. By studying this process, we gain not only a deeper appreciation for these charismatic birds, but also valuable insights into evolution, adaptation, and the intricate connections between species and their environments. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the fascinating world of penguin evolution. I hope this exploration has deepened your understanding and appreciation of these remarkable birds. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more science content. And remember, in the face of environmental challenges, we can all play a part in ensuring a future where penguins continue to waddle, swim, and thrive. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.